BNL and Pinch Me on KCHW Chihuahua. It's 102.7 FM. You got Scott and Mike in the morning. And special guests, we've been talking about this. We're really, really excited to have him in the studio and to be able to roll this out before Veterans Day. So we'd like to have a warm welcome. First time in the studio, we have Brandon Harting and Larry Allen. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you so much for traveling all the way from Colville. All right.
I appreciate you having us today.
Yeah, all right.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
All right. Big round of applause. We always do that. All right.
That's the audience in the background.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Big crowd.
Big crowd.
Exactly. Big crowd. Yeah.
All right. So just want to roll it out real quick. If you have a friend who is a veteran, they don't even have to be in Chihuahua. They can listen on the radio, 102.7. They could actually log on to our website, kchw.org. If you go to the listen page, there's both an audio player and a video player. And then, of course, we are live on YouTube this morning, too. Just simply go to YouTube or send them to YouTube and type in KCHW Tube, and it'll pop up because we're live. It'll be just automatically start playing for them. So first off, we'll go to Mike's right, and we'll start off with Brandon. Brandon Harting, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at WorkSource.
I was a small town. I grew up in a small town, Ritzville, and it's funny. I remember we had a regional wrestling tournament up here in Chihuahua, and I just remembered there being a lot of snow up here. And like, holy smokes, how?
Because it all blows away in Ritzville, right?
Yeah, it's like, how did they do this up here? And it's funny that I have actually live up on the pass near Colville, and so I live in feet of snow. So, it's, but again, I grew up in Ritzville. We in that area and a lot of areas in eastern Washington, we kind of have an appreciation for freedom, and I just thought that it'd be important to fight for those who can't fight for themselves, and decided to enlist in the Army, and I joined the 82nd Airborne, and I was with them from 93 to 97, 1993 to 1997, and after I got out, I decided to go to college and be a teacher and coach for a while. And I did that, and I don't know. My wife and I decided to anchor in a little town called Ione, which is not too far from us.
That's right. And actually, my wife's parents grew up in Ione.
So we just loved the place, and we just figured we're gonna be here in this particular area, and we live right on the county line, so we just moved recently, but we love it, and so I don't know, in the whole process, I've had my downs in life, and I've actually lived in a car and going to college. There's probably a lot of folks that have done that as well, and eaten ramen and that type of story.
I'm still doing that too.
So I'm not. But we.
Hey, grocery outlet.
Well, Scott and I, once before we were talking about that, because I went to college, my staple was Cornish game hens, because I could get them for 89 cents a piece at Top Ramen.
Well, just going to school and just, I don't know, I just started developing this drive to help folks. And, I guess the reason I bring up the living in the car thing is because I encounter a lot of folks that are in that situation. And so I know what it feels like to be hungry when you wish you weren't hungry. I know what it feels like to have bills mounting and not able to do anything about it, and so I feel it as being a veteran employment representative, just being able to help guide veterans to make themselves better, to help improve their life.
Because anytime you're going for assistance or you need help and you're going through a government agency, there's a lot of red tape to that. and a process to it, and applications and things to fill out. And maybe you're in a situation where your mind's clouded, you're not in your best place, and just the idea of having to go through that and deal with people you shy away from it. So it's good that you've got the military background, and maybe you can help with that reach out too.
Well,
right?
and then that's the concept, been there, done that. I mean, and so empathy comes through really fast because of that. So.
I think the thing that that's really hard is getting through the pride factor. It's
right.
like I'm going to do this on my own, and but we're just trying to encourage folks that we're here. Let us. It helps us. It really makes us feel great.
Yeah, make me happy. Let me help you.
Exactly. I didn't want to steal the show. Well,
You're good. You're good.
We'll give him his turn now.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
That's kind of a nutshell on how things evolve.
That was perfect. Yeah. All right. And to the right of Brandon, we have Mr. Larry Allen. Welcome to the studios, Larry.
Hey, thank you. My name is Larry Allen. I'm of the Sinaiks tribe of the Colville Confederated Tribes. I grew up on the Colville Indian Reservation, mostly in Omak, but I currently live in HLM, Washington.
Okay.
Where I live with my wife, my granddaughter, 2 dogs, and 5 horses.
Nice.
So I just live across the river from this place. I joined the Army. I served 25 years in the military.
Thank you.
I retired as a command sergeant major. I spent most of my time in the 75th Ranger Regiment. And then also I spent a little time with some British guys for about 3 years. Some lads that I still maintain contact with. After I retired out of the military, I went on the military contracting circuit. I did a lot of time in Afghanistan, Iraq, and also in the Horn of Africa. And what was unique about it is I never ever forgot I was a sergeant. And I never ever forgot that I came from the state of Washington. So every place I ever went to, I knew I was representing not only myself, but a pretty large crowd. And my family, I come from a military family. Ever since World War II, somebody in our family has participated in every conflict that we've ever had. So growing up, when I'd go to the powwows and they would get the veterans out there in the middle of the circle, I'm like looking at these guys, and I'll tell you what, they were always my heroes. And one of the days when I finally got the opportunity to go on, I went into the service. And what was really unique about it is both Brandon and I were both paratroopers. Yeah, and one time I was out processing out of Fort Benning, and this lady, she was doing my paperwork, and she goes, "You're a paratrooper." I see you're a paratrooper. I said, "Roger that." And she goes, if there's nothing wrong with the airplanes, there must be something wrong with the people that jump out of them. I says, ma'am, that's the first time I ever heard that one, but that one's pretty good. It's probably pretty close to the truth also.
I've heard that before. Why would anyone jump out of a perfectly good airplane?
And then I've been working in WorkSource for about 3 months now. And our staff is just, they're top shelf. Customer service. Somebody shows up at the door, they take care of them right there. And one of the things that they're really good is they're really good at directing to who. Once they do the assessment, once they do the triage, understand what the individual needs, our staff is really good in pointing them in the right direction. And then once that individual, it's a really good warm handoff. Once we get and do the handoff, that individual staff member takes that ball and runs with it. And that's one of the things that I've been really impressed with. And, working with other veterans, that's sergeant's work. Sergeants, they're the ones that take care of the troops. And even though that I retired as a command sergeant major, that's just a title. The only word that means anything in that is sergeant, because the sergeant will always take care of the individual soldier, understand, what his needs are, take care of his needs so, he can go on his mission. And the mission, once we're out as a civilian, that's taking care of your family. So we want to get rid of all those distractions. We want to get that individual back on their feet and move them forward. Because in the military, most of the time, the young ones coming out nowadays, once they decide that, they're going to leave the service, all they want to do is they want to get out. Even though that the military has a good system, for their transition, they're not paying attention. So they get to the front gate, they come down, and they leave. They go back to their city, wherever it is, Colville, Chihuahua, and then that's when fellas like Brandon and I, and that's when we encourage them to come to us, and sometimes we go to them. And to me, that's what really outreach is.
Sure.
And
So if I were to come to you, you must have some kind of an assessment process you go through.
Well, our job responsibilities, a lot of folks, hey, you're the VA rep. Well, no, I can direct you to that person. We're primarily employment related.
Okay.
But gosh, we do have a triage process where frontline staff, say, hey, have you served in the military? That's one of our first questions they're asked. Have you served in the military? And then from there we can direct them to down the road. But we serve veterans and we help with their employment needs. We also serve businesses and help facilitate veteran employment. So any business out there looking for veterans to hire, gosh, we got some folks we know. So
Okay. Well, and in my prior career, I recruited and hired people in a lot of different areas, and I will guarantee you, I sought after veterans because of the discipline that was incurred, the pride that was incurred, and then frankly, as corny as it sounds, they would take good direction. And in today's world, that's awful hard to find.
They're used to showing up.
They're used to showing up. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of one of those things when you hire somebody today, you just go, I wonder if they're going to show up tomorrow. I mean, that type of thing. And so I fully understand and appreciate what you guys are doing. So you work with the veterans as far as job placement effectively. So you must look at job skills and then take a look at whatever those skills are coming out of the service, how to put those into the world out there.
We wherever the veteran may be in their employment history,
Okay.
be it straight out of the military or they've been working in a field for 10 years and they're looking for a career change, or they're 65 and they're, gosh, I'm bored. I want to do some part-time work. Wherever they are in their employment history, we meet them where they are, and we help hone things up and polish up resumes and give them some interview skills, or try and help solidify those to help them on their direction.
Okay, so one other thing, do you go through like mock interviews?
That is something that we do, and we help facilitate. And Larry and I are both we're pretty darn good at helping folks, but we also understand that there's others that are better at helping than we are. Like we have a couple of folks that are just dynamite when it comes to resume presentation. I can help you do an okay resume, right? But there's some folks in our office that we're talking grade A excellent type stuff, and so it's like, gosh, I'm gonna hand you over to this person. They can really get things polished up really good, or this person, she's dynamite when it comes to interview skills. Let's talk to her. She can help with that. Yeah,
but that gets back to what I think you were talking about earlier. Is you've really got a dynamic team.
You betcha.
And then you guys are kind of the sergeants of the team. You just want to make sure that person gets to where they need to get to, and support that person as much as you possibly can. So congratulations, because there's a whole lot of, from my perspective, I used to talk to placement officers in colleges, and one of the things that irritated me is I'd have these kids coming out of college with zero interviewing skills. I mean, the resume looked nice because they would frankly take a class now to make a resume look nice. But we'd start asking, questions like, what do you look for in your future? Or, if you ran into this situation, how would you handle that? They were stonewalled because they didn't know how to answer that. So to me, those mock interviewing skills are just phenomenal. It makes it real.
Or you take somebody my age, if you're trying to re-enter the workforce, maybe you've been out of it or something, or like you were saying, a career change. It's really hard for guys once you hit 50 to make a career change, to reinvent yourself and get that job that you want. So how do you guys, when you have a vet that comes to you and go into that what kind of things do you look at, and what do you do for them in that state? They need to make a change in their life and get a good job, and they're competing against kids coming out of college, kids in their 20s, guys in their 30s. What do you do to help that vet? You want to take that, Gary? Larry. One of
the things that we look at, we look at what kind of skills that they have right now. And then there again, we tailor the resume, we tailor the interview to the job that they're going to actually go into. And then, WorkSource actually provides classes for that instruction.
And they're free.
For free. And I'm glad you brought that up about mock interviews. We just had one on Friday.
Okay.
United States Marine Corps veteran, construction guy, A-type personality, brought him in, handed him off, warm handoff to our individual that's really good at interviews, and we spent about an hour with him. And then she went and assessed him, and she would go ahead and ask him a question, and she would say, okay, well, don't go so much into it. Just keep to the question.
Don't overshare.
Short, concise.
Right.
Don't really volunteer a lot of information. And by the time that was over, that individual was he was ready for his interview.
Nice.
And the other thing is the resumes. There again, our staff will walk them and talk them through and train them in different resumes for different, what their job skills are, and then for whatever job they're going to go for in the future. So it's just more than just one resume that they actually put on their WorkSource account.
Okay.
So now, what do you guys do when you encounter a veteran and you're talking about these handoffs, and I'm sure this happens all the time as you're getting to know this person and finding out how you can help them for a job? You realize they have other issues they need help with. How do you interagency work, that type of stuff? How do you deal with that when you encounter it? Because they probably have more than one issue when they're coming in, right? Because they need a job.
You're absolutely correct. There's folks that have we call them roadblocks or barriers, be it homelessness or long-term unemployment, whatever the case may be, homelessness. We try to make sure that, again, we're sergeants or we're non-commissioned officers. I know we're Army, both of us, so we use the term sergeant. In other branches, they may call them petty officer in the Navy and
Master Chief.
Yeah, but the non-commissioned officers in all branches take care of or help lead that younger soldier or that younger service member to the direction they're looking to go. And we try to do that. We try to take those individuals and see where they're at, what barriers or roadblocks we got in the way. We're going to be right there with you, helping. We can't provide resources, but we can help you navigate those resources and find those people that can help with whatever. There's a program SSVF Goodwill has, Supportive Services Veterans Family, helps with homelessness for veterans. So if that's something that they have as an obstacle, we'll refer them out and we'll do that. We're not actually handing off in this case. We're partnering. So we're establishing our connections, increasing our envelopment of the veteran. So there's a big team surrounding them, and
And you got some other resources in Colville as well. We had Dr. Bacon in from the Hope Street Project and stuff like that. So there are other resources when they're in trouble that Colville does have in place, right?
You bet. We do what we can to make sure they understand. All veterans need to understand there is help out there.
Right.
It is a task. It's a kind of a difficult task to figure out which folks help you out or which entity can help with what. A lot of folks think of. There are some folks that think of the. I don't want to use the name. But there's a giant place that has a lot of stuff in it, a store, and you go to that certain place to get everything. Well, there isn't that entity for veterans. There's a lot of mini stores that you go to, so to speak, to help get certain help. The big VA is not that big store that you get everything taken care of. It handles healthcare and survivor benefits and those type of things. VA has its lane. The Washington Department of Veterans Affairs has its lane as well. Employment Security, who we represent, we have our little lane with employment. So just helping them understand that there are many different places that can help with whatever certain categories. We're going to try and connect those and have them all lined up to help you out with.
You basically become a liaison for that individual to whatever you figure out their needs are. So one of the questions I have would be, what's the follow-up system? I mean, to me, if you help somebody get from point A to point B, and they hit a roadblock in point B, I assume that it's like a case, and so effectively there's some kind of follow-up system if they, run into struggles or find that's not the right direction, or a friendly voice to talk to, or that type of thing. I mean, is there a system that does that? I guess, or are you so overwhelmed?
I hate to keep stealing thunder here, but. When we make that initial contact, it's kind of like they're one of ours, and they always know that. Gosh, give me a call if there's anything that you encounter along the way that is an obstacle. Please call me. Again, I'm veteran employment representative.
Okay, so that gets back to that comment both of you made about being a sergeant.
Correct.
Okay.
So, but we know folks that may know folks, and so we're going to do what we can to make that connection. Even though we're employment related, we help with employment, we're still going to try and make sure that you get the things you need.
So when Barney was here, one of the things that impressed us was the depth of what WorkSource can do to help people, whether it's an assessment of their abilities or helping out with the homelessness issue or whatever. So you guys are really doing the same thing. It's just you focus in on vets.
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and say something about that.
Sure.
We do have a success story, and I'm glad you asked about the follow-up.
Okay.
Because that's one thing a sergeant does. Even though I've been retired for several years, I still have some of my young Rangers calling me like, "Hey, Sergeant Major," But and that's exactly what it is. You establish that bond. You're veterans. I'm your sergeant now. I have taken ownership of you. A good example was Stevens County has a veterans court, and one of our first things that we did is one thing that Brandon and I are really good at is networking, establishing those partnerships, and understanding what those partnerships can not do for us, but do for the veterans, because that's what our job is. And I actually got to meet one of our tribal members that is part of that vet court. And, veterans, they do like talking to veterans. And he opened up to me and he goes, "Well, I'm sleeping on my brother's couch right now." I said, "Really?" Light bulb went off. Spokane Tribes actually has a HUD-VASH tribal program. So I got a hold of that individual. And, speaking of the homeless, because that actually puts that individual in a category of homeless, sleeping on a couch. And then just last Friday, we actually hooked him up with that individual representative, and now that young lady is taking the ball and she's running with it. You know, and sometime in December, we should know whether he'll be able to, that he'll be eligible for the HUD-VASH program, and they'll go, and he'll actually go out and shop for, you know, an apartment or a house.
Nice.
So yeah, so, you know, once the sergeant takes ownership, you know, that you just
Here's a
you
question.
just don't let it go.
To go along with that, I see them, and at first I didn't understand what they were the first time I heard it, and that was a veteran stand down. And these have been popping up all over. I know you guys just had one in Colville a few weeks back. I believe it was out at the fairgrounds or something, where veterans could come get information. Now, when those stand downs happen in our area, is that something you guys are able to join and be there too? Do you know what I'm talking about? Or yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
matter of fact, the Colville stand down, and before that, Newport had a stand down. I was at both, and it's an event to help bring awareness to the resources that are available to veterans, and it allows all those service organizations to be able to display what they can help with and how they can help. And gosh, you know, you know, the amount of camaraderie and the goodness that's brought out of those stand downs is I can't explain it. It's just, it's very rewarding to be able to be part of
I figured
those.
there'd be a place where you guys would be, right? And I wanted to point them out too, in case guys don't know about them. You know, if they haven't heard about them. The first time I heard it, I was like, "What's that?" Or you know, and
Right.
what celebration is this? Or something. I didn't, you know. And then I looked into it a little deeper. I'm like, "Oh, we got to talk about this on the radio." You know, this is a great thing that people might not know about.
So how often do those happen? Because I didn't know, wasn't even aware of it. So
Well, Newport, they had their stand down in July, and
Okay.
they'll probably be looking about the same time frame. Colville, we had ours in September, and I believe they're going to try and repeat that and do it again. Spokane is supposed to have their first ever stand down, I believe. Gosh. I will just say it's in the winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to give
That's
a
safe enough.
specific month. I'm pretty sure it's in January sometime, but I might be wrong.
yeah, I think that's, to me, it's great, and it needs to be repeated on a consistent basis
Yeah.
because it's, you know, the word gets out, and the word can get through with Scott, but I think the more powerful word is people that have attended and say, hey, you need to be here, you know, kind of a referral network. And so I don't know if maybe I'm speaking out of turn for Scott here, but I think the next time that you guys are involved in, we need to know.
Yeah.
So we can get you in here and, you know, and beat that drum a little bit.
And
say,
if
hey,
you've got a
you know.
connection of who's putting it together and the person
Right.
that's running it, send them our way. We'd love to have them on the radio too.
You bet.
It's great
You bet.
information to get out. All right, you guys, let's kind of do a recap. And it says down there you've got some information on some special Veterans Day events too.
I primarily want to direct veterans to explore whatever may be in your area, because there's different things all over. I know there's a couple events up in the Colville area, and of course even up in Medellin Falls. American Legion is having an event up there. So there's a variety of things out there. And I just encourage veterans to just be a part of the celebration of us
Right.
as veterans, and allow your significant other to be part of that as well, because even though you may get the free mail, you still got to buy one for your,
Right.
your
Yeah,
significant other.
Actually, Tooele's having theirs this Saturday.
So we want to make sure the
And,
businesses aren't
yeah.
getting aren't just paying for free stuff. We want to make sure there's
Yeah,
we
exactly.
get some type of again, but we appreciate everything that's done on behalf of veterans for all those places out there that celebrate what veterans have done.
Well, and from my perspective, you know, I grew up in Montana, which is very similar to Eastern Washington in a lot of respects. And so your percentage of veterans relative to the population is a lot higher than you would in a lot of the big metro areas. And then I spent 20 years over in Seattle or the Kirkland area, and you just didn't hear
I'm
about
sorry about that. Did I say that out loud?
I think they heard you.
Hey, it was a great career move. Get off my case.
We just love it over here. So.
Yeah, I know. Well, I moved there to Austin, Texas. Okay. And then in the mentality, even in a larger community like Austin, is so much different than the West Coast. I'll just leave it at that. And so it was heartening when I decided to move up to Chewelah to see that happening again. Because I grew up in a relatively large family in a rural community, and so even though I'm not a veteran, there's a fair number of my cousins and brothers and et cetera that are veterans, and of course my parents were veterans, and so that mentality is there, and I don't know how to appreciate that, and I really kind of have a success story I want to share of a brother-in-law of mine that. He was in the Army also, and when he got out of the Army, he went into the Army Reserve and then finished out, I think, at 28 or 29 years. But one of the skill sets that he got, I'm beating on the table, I know, was he was some kind of a water purification specialist in the first Iran conflict. And he came back with that and tried to get that use that skill set, and they ended up, a mill put him to work, actually. And then the mill closed down, welcome to the world. And so he needed to go through a retraining program, and he's, 45 years old, 50 years old. And I don't know who hooked him up with it. This is in Missoula, Montana, but somebody hooked him up to go back to school, and he became a solar power specialist that deals with water. And that's what he's doing today, actually. He loves it. And he's helping people, basically get off the grid. So you ought to talk to him.
All right.
Because he wants to get off the grid.
All right. I'm trying to get off the planet.
That's a success story of somebody helped, that a lot of people, when they lose their employment or whatever at the age of 50, what do I do next? And he had these resources to go there. So I think that's a great way to take a look at that. Mm-hmm. And the camaraderie between the other vets that in Missoula, Montana, that he had, because I don't know what his unit was, but they're a pretty cohesive group. They stay together effectively. So anyway, so congratulations, you guys do what you do. I think it's a huge need, and it's one that needs to be fulfilled on a consistent basis.
Having you guys in here and having Barney a couple weeks ago, you said you got to watch his video on YouTube. It really kind of opened my eyes, because when you picture government agencies or you think about government agencies, not the most positive pictures come to mind. If you think of a bunch of people that are mired in government red tape and hate their jobs. Okay, it's a stereotypical thing. But meeting Barney and YouTube puts a total different face on WorkSource and the people that are there. Gives it some personalization for me, and I know our listeners too, that, wow, look at these people up in Colville that work at WorkSource and how much they care about the people in their community. I can tell Barney, and I can tell the two of you, very passionate, excited to be in your job and be in a position to help people. Now, you might have a lot of government tape behind the scenes, and I'm sure you do, but that you guys are keeping, and I'm going to lump you in with Barney too, that you all three have such positive attitudes, and you really want to help. And I am totally impressed with whoever has put the crew together at the WorkSource in Colville. I don't know who your direct boss is, but good job. Wow.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And I want to say something on that. It's not bullcrap. We actually truly do care. It's not giving a show or anything like that. We deep down, I say everybody in the office truly cares about helping folks becoming better and helping them on their journey to improvement.
As I've met you guys, two words come to my mind for both of you: humble and proud. And those are two powerful, very powerful ways to approach people, So congratulations. A lot of people have a tough time with both those terms, believe me.
Hey, and I'd like to take the opportunity. Without veterans, we wouldn't have the freedom that we have. Without veterans, we wouldn't have the freedom of speech. We wouldn't be able to do what we're doing right now. And my hat will always be off to him. I'll always salute him. I'll always respect him. When I meet him, I'll always give him a big hug because, understanding what they did. Most veterans are small towns, just like me and Brandon. You got a dang young guy, you're going in the unknown. Next thing you know, you're getting beat by some drill sergeant. You survive that. Next thing you know, they're chucking you out of an airplane. You survive that. And
now they're shooting at you.
Yeah, now they're shooting at you. You survive that. And the great thing is, we always return to our roots.
Right.
And we return to our family. And, and what's really great about this area, there's a really good support group that understands veterans. And sometimes they go underappreciated, but we appreciate them. And thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Yep.
All right. Anything you'd like to close with?
I appreciate you having here today.
All right.
That's first time on the radio for both these guys.
All right. You guys did excellent. It wasn't that bad, was it?
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
Oh, my leg is still
But now
shaking.
you're on the web, so you're across the globe.
Not quite like jumping out of an airplane, but
Okay.
we had a little bit of.
And I don't know.
Still had a little butterflies?
We had a little
bit better. And from my perspective, though, you didn't say anything's going to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Or get you guys in trouble.
We're hoping we got
true,
here.
too. No, I wouldn't get in trouble. He'd get in trouble.
I can't believe that we had two guys in the radio that have jumped fearlessly out of airplanes, and they're afraid to be on the radio.
My leg is still shaking.
All right. Once again, from WorkSource in Colville, Brandon Harting and Larry Allen, thank you guys so much for coming in and sharing with us. And
You bet.
have a great Veterans Day, all right?
And we'll have you back if you want to come back.
Anytime.
Okay.
You guys got
All right.
something going on, anything special? You can always log on the website and send us a note on the contact page for a public service announcement. Let us help where we can.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
One more time, a
sirs.
round of applause. We'll take a little break, and then Mr. Brandon Hansen from the Chewila Independent's going to come in. He's got some election and news updates for us. Very exciting. All right, it's KCHW 102.7 for the boys. And we roll into a little music. It's Moon Taxi.